Hello there, third graders. So today we are talking about the associative property. This is a property that should sound a little familiar to you. Our learning target is I can identify the associative property, and our success criteria today is I can use the associative property to prove that no matter how you put these factors into place and how you multiply them, you're still going to get the same product. So the directions are create two equations using the given factors. And factors are the numbers that you multiply together. Those are called factors. Group the factors using parentheses. So the numbers that you multiply first, you're going to put parentheses around those numbers. And make sure to group and model in two different ways. Again, this is something we have done before, so this should sound familiar. It should sound like a review for you. So we have the factors 4, 3, and 2. Now let's say the first way that we would like to multiply this, I'm trying to think of, I think I'm going to draw a line down the middle, okay? And the first way that I'm going to multiply these numbers is I'm going to say, well, what if we did 4 parentheses 4 times 3 in parentheses times 2. So those parentheses tell us that those two factors that are grouped together, you're going to multiply those first. And that's going to be the array that you create. So let me get my little pen here. So what this tells me too is this stands for rows of. Rows of. So I'm going to do 4 rows of 3. 4 rows of 3. So 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows. And I'm not sure if you can see that. So let me try making it a little bit thicker this time. Let me erase this. And I'm going to use maybe this. Let's see how thick that is. So 4 rows, 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows. And it's 4 rows of 3. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is my array. I've made an array that's 4 rows, 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows of 3. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now this other number over here, and let me change my color. So this other number over here, this tells us how many arrays to make. How many arrays? How many arrays? I probably should have used the thinner pen for that. Oh well. So I need to make a total of 2 arrays. Well, I already made one array that was 4 rows of 3. So now I'm going to make it, I'm going to kind of separate this. Separate my first array from my second array. Let me go back to this color. I'm going to make a second array that's 4 rows of 3. So here's my second array, 4 rows. 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows of 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, I have made my model. This is a model. And my model shows 4 rows of 3, and there's 2 arrays because that other factor tells us how many arrays we need to make. So think of the parentheses as this is your array, and then what's outside of the parentheses is how many of those arrays you're going to make. So how many total is there? Well, let me get another color. I'm going to say black, and let me count them. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12 up here, plus how many down here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I know that 12 plus 12 is 24. Now, the associative property tells us that you can decide any way you want to arrange those numbers, and you're still going to get the same answer. So let's see if this is true. Let's prove it. This time, and I'm going to get my little text box. So this last time we did parentheses 4 times 3 times 2. Well, this time let's try it a different way. Let's say 4, oops, let me erase this. 4 times, now parentheses, 3 times 2. My apologies if you can hear my daughter and son playing in the background. My daughter is super loud. She's 4 years old. And I don't know if she knows like what a quiet voice sounds like or what an indoor voice sounds like. So if you hear any screaming in the background, I'm sorry. It's just my son and daughter who are playing, and they're not even in the room, but I can hear them. Okay, so back to this. So, oops, let's make sure that this a little bit more space here. Okay. So this time we decided that instead of putting the parentheses, instead of grouping the 4 and 3 together, we're going to group the 3 and the 2 together. So I'm going to start with what's inside of the parentheses. This time I have 3 times 2. And I know, and this time I'm going to remember to write with a thinner, let's say we'll write with a thinner, and I'm going to use, I'll use blue, and then this part right here, that multiplication symbol stands for rows of. So there's 3 rows of 2. So that's what our array is going to look like this time. So let me grab my color, and I'm going to say this time I'm going to go with an orange color. But I am still going to make my pencil nice and thick for my dots. My dots. So 3 rows of 2 this time is what my array needs to look like. So 3 rows. 1, 2, 3. 3 rows of 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So there is my 3 rows of 2. Now I think I'm going to get this pink color here, and that way I can kind of block this out. There's my first array. Now, this tells us how many arrays that I need to make. So it's not just one array that I'm going to make. I'm going to make 4 arrays. And I've already made 1 array. So now I'm going to make a second array. And it's 3 rows of 2 is what my array looks like. So 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows of 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So here's 2 arrays that I've created. And am I done? No, because I need 4 total arrays. Let me make another array. 1, 2, 3 rows of 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Am I done? No, because I have to have 4 total arrays. 1 array, 2 arrays, 3 arrays. All right, here's my 4th array, and I need 3 rows. 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows of 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, I have my 4 arrays. Each array is 3 rows of 2. Let's see if we get the same product as what we got in the first problem. Okay, so we have, let me grab a different color so I can add it up. All right, so this is 6, and this is 6. And I know 6 plus 6 is 12. And I have another 6. And I have another 6. And again, I know my doubles facts. 6 plus 6 is 12. So then if we add, okay, I'm running out of space. Let me try up here. If we add 12 plus 12, we get 24. And I'm sorry that that looks so crooked. And that's the same product we got on the other side. So we just proved the associative property. It doesn't matter what 2 numbers you put together first when you're multiplying 3 factors with each other, because you're still going to get the same product. And learners, that's what you're going to be practicing today. You're going to be given factors, and what you'll be doing is creating the equations that would match those factors. And then you're also going to explain in words how you got it. Now, that can be tricky, so I'm going to kind of briefly explain. I'm going to write it over here because you can't, yeah. All right, I'll write it over here. Sorry, learners, I'm having a moment. So for example, okay. So for example, if I wanted to explain how I did the first problem, I would say I made an array that was 4 rows of 3. And let me scoot this over a little bit so you can see what I'm writing. Then I made a second array that was 4 rows of 3. I added all of the dots together and wait, nope, but I need to be more specific, don't I? I counted by 3s, right? I counted by 3s in my first array and got 12. Then I knew my second array would be 12 and added 12 and 12 to get there's my word sum, those of you practicing using math vocabulary words in your explanation. Then I knew my second array would be 12 and added 12 and 12 to get the sum of 24. And that would be how you would communicate what you did in the first problem. All right, I'm going to stop there, learners. Again, thank you for all that you do, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment in the private comment section of Google Classroom, and your teachers will get your message if you ever get stuck on something or you're not sure how to solve a problem. All right, your third grade teachers miss you. We are proud of you. Keep up the great work.